All right, let's dive right into this explainer. Today, we're unpacking a fascinating breakdown of what it's actually like to enforce tax law at the absolute highest levels of wealth. This source material puts us directly in the shoes of an IRS agent facing a virtually unbelievable financial discrepancy. Honestly, it reads like a procedural thriller, a financial deep dive, and a systemic analysis all rolled into one. So settle in, because we're going to unpack exactly how this hidden world operates. We are dropping straight into a modern-day David versus Goliath situation. Our Goliath? A real estate developer sitting on a net worth of, get this, $800 million. Just picture that for a second. An $800 million empire. That is the kind of staggering wealth that most of us can't even genuinely comprehend. But here is the absolute kicker. That same guy with his $800 million net worth reported an income to the United States government last year of just $18,000. I mean, that is literally less than a first-year teacher makes. It's less than a big-box store shift manager makes. And yet, for a long time, nobody even questioned it. So, you gotta wonder, how exactly does that math work out? How does a man with an $800 million empire legally tell the government he only made 18 grand? Well, that's exactly what we're exploring today. We'll be detailing the incredible asymmetry between the ultra-wealthy individuals who utilize these systems and the government agents tasked with auditing them. It's a game of numbers, for sure. But as we're about to see, the deck is heavily stacked to one side.
Part 1. The Architecture of Tax Law.
To understand the billionaire, we really have to look at the people hunting them first. Imagine two college roommates, both with accounting degrees, same classes, exact same GPA. One heads to a major Wall Street firm for 110 grand a year to start. The other, our IRS agent, takes a $48,000 salary, walking into a federal building with water stains on the ceiling and carpets from 1994. They are operating on different sides of the exact same machine, and that massive financial mismatch begins on literally day one of their careers. That agent then spends 6 months in training just trying to wrap their head around a tax code that is over 7,000 pages long. But here's the thing. This massive document isn't just some standard rulebook that applies equally to everyone.
And this brings us to a really tough realization. As the source material points out, every gap in the law exists because someone paid to put it there. The system isn't actually broken. It is a meticulously designed architecture. Every loophole had a lobbyist, every exemption had a sponsor. The architects of the system are definitely not on the agent's side, and the people who wrote the laws made absolutely sure they would never be caught by them.
Part 2. Anatomy of a Tax Shelter.
So with all that architecture in place, how does the money actually vanish? Well, the source uses this brilliant term, money shapeshifting. When you're dealing with hundreds of millions of dollars, the cash doesn't just hide in a safe or under a mattress, it structurally transforms. It bounces through shell companies in Delaware, trusts in South Dakota, and jurisdictions that just straight up ignore American subpoenas. By the time it comes out the other side, it isn't income anymore. It shapeshifts into a loan repayment from a fake company, or a consulting fee for a firm with 0 employees. And the crazy part? A lot of this is technically completely legal. Let's walk through a specific scheme from a tech billionaire outlined in the explainer. Imagine you buy a painting for $2 million. Next, you pay a friendly appraiser, who, by the way, probably has a lucrative retainer from your legal team, to value that exact same painting at $40 million. Then, you donate it to your own charitable foundation, which lets you claim a $40 million tax deduction. The wildest part of all this, the painting never even leaves your living room. It's just hanging over your fireplace, while the government essentially subsidizes a gift you gave to yourself.
Part 3. A War of Attrition.
Now, when an agent finally catches a lucky break, say finding a matching signature on some Cayman Islands document, linking a massive offshore trust to that guy claiming 18 grand in income, that's when the real battle starts. And it's almost never a fight over the facts. It is a fight over resources. These IRS divisions face just relentless budget realities. A supervisor might have 14 active cases up on the whiteboard, but only enough budget to pursue 9 of them. They aren't explicitly told to drop the complex, ultra-expensive billionaire cases, but the implication is loud and clear. Close the cases you can afford to close, just to keep the lights on. Because these cases, they are astronomically expensive to fight. You've got an IRS team of maybe 4 agents making about $90,000 a year, going toe-to-toe with a legal defense team of 40 attorneys spread across 3 different firms, with many of them making upwards of $900,000 a year. The billionaire strategy isn't even to prove they're innocent. They just fight with time. They file motions, they delay, they restructure, literally just waiting for the government to run out of its limited budget.
Part 4. The Raid and the Trial.
In the narrative we're following, our agent absolutely refuses to let it go. Their budget gets bled dry, and they are handed a 90-day ticking clock to make a case or drop it entirely. They have to navigate internally missing files, not to mention a very mysterious procedural review that gets triggered right after a senator gets a phone call from the defense. Along the way, their best analyst quits for a massive private sector payday. But then, on day 74, they team up with an investigative journalist who drops a front-page expose. The public gets furious, and, like magic, the agency suddenly finds the budget again. It all culminates on day 82 with a 6:15 a.m. raid on a quiet Midtown Manhattan office, seizing a server with 2.3 terabytes of the Billionaire's real financial books, literally interrupting a guy standing next to a warm paper shredder.
So, they've got him. The target is caught. The agent finally has the server outlining $1.1 billion in hidden assets. But if you think the crazy financial juxtaposition ends at the arrest, think again. It carries right over into the justice system. Get this, the target was actually on a Mediterranean yacht when the raid went down. When he finally strolls back into the country 3 weeks later, his bail is set at $50 million. And he just posts it, in cash. That exact same day. It is truly mind-boggling to realize that the cash bail he handed over in a single afternoon was larger than the entire yearly operating budget of the agency office that just spent 3 agonizing years building the case against him.
Part 5. The cost of doing business. Fast forward through 1930 legal motions from the defense and a grueling 14-month trial. The billionaire is indeed found guilty on 4 of 7 counts. But let's look at the actual tangible outcome here. The target is sentenced to 28 months, but will likely serve 19 with good behavior, in a minimum security facility that literally has tennis courts. The IRS does successfully recover $684 million in back taxes and penalties. But check out his final net worth. After all of that, he still retains $2.1 billion. The guy entered the courtroom a billionaire, and he leaves the courtroom a billionaire. And the source makes this incredibly powerful observation. The system took a haircut off a fortune and called it justice. For the ultra-wealthy, getting caught isn't really facing absolute justice. It's practically a systemic haircut. It's just the cost of doing business. The government gets a chunk of change, there's no big victory plaque for the agents, and by Monday morning, everyone just moves on to the next case. It perfectly captures the relentless, grinding reality for these investigators. The source compares it to shoveling snow in a blizzard. While one massive case finally closes, a brand new file, usually thicker than the last, with different shell companies and different lawyers, but the exact same architecture, immediately lands on the desk. You never really finish, you just have to rely on patience and keep digging.
Which leaves us with a really tough final question to ponder. If the penalty for hiding $1 billion leaves you a billionaire anyway, is the system actually designed to enforce the law or merely to tax the act of breaking it? As long as this architecture remains unchanged and these massive resource disparities persist, can this game of attrition ever truly be won, or is the system simply functioning exactly as it was built to? Something to think about.